Hi, I'm Ann Johnson. Welcome to Ready to Chat. I hope you're all you had a good week and you're looking forward to the weekend. Happy Friday. Friday's always a great day. That's why I do these on Friday because I just think it's such a fun day. I want to spend some time with you. Um, we're going to talk about midlife transitions that no one talks about. I'm going to talk about it honestly. But before I get to that, I'd like to hear from you. What's the one thing that your younger self would be shocked at if they knew you loved it today? What's the one thing they would be shocked at? And I got to tell you what mine is, that I love jazz. My younger self would just crack up because I was into rock and roll back then. That's all I wanted to do, rock and roll. And mostly rock. No Neil Sedaka. But I'm now into Oscar Peterson, Dave Brubeck, Chick Corea. And for those of you who aren't jazz enthusiasts, those are all jazz pianists. So I'm into it now because my grandson is a jazz pianist and he plays all over town. And so I guess I was forced into loving jazz, but I honestly got into it. So let me know what you love that your younger self would just say, are you crazy? Everyone tells you to reinvent yourself in midlife. Oh, you can reinvent yourself in midlife. It's such a wonderful time. You can be anything you want to be. And I'm here to tell you that's the wrong word. You are not a blank slate. You're not a blank slate. You're a masterpiece in progress. And I don't mean that Pollyanna like. I mean, you are. You're a masterpiece in progress, not a blank slate. In your 20s and 30s, you you picked up the raw materials. Now that you're in midlife, it's time to build a legacy. And that's the transition I'm talking about. Not reinvent, but build your legacy. Has anyone ever thought they were having a midlife crisis? Anyone? I think I had one. At least that's what I thought it was at the time. And I bought a Mustang. Not just any Mustang. This was a red Mustang convertible. It was like I was going back to when I was 25 and had a brown with gold trim Firebird. So here I am at 50 and I'm going to relive what I was doing in my 20s. Midlife crisis? I don't know. The word crisis implies something's going wrong. But what's actually happening in midlife is the noise that's been all around you has finally quieted and you can hear yourself. The fog of adulthood, the proving, the performing that you had in your 20s and 30s, it's all gone. It's all gone now. You don't have to put on a performance for anyone. So, what looks like a breakdown from the outside is is really a breakthrough on the inside, not a crisis. You finally know who you are, where you are, and what you want. You also know what you won't tolerate anymore. Your 20s and 30s are largely about collecting other people's opinions and taking them on yourself. Other people's values, other people's whatever. And you accept them and you wear them and you go through life. By midlife, you're able to separate yourself from these different values and opinions and perspectives. And if they're not part of what you truly are, it becomes a deal breaker. You can't tolerate that anymore. Most people spend their lives never getting to this point, but you can. You can get to this point. It's it's not selfishness. It's self-respect with a backbone. And I think that's important. Just because you don't want to take on everyone's opinion doesn't mean that you are pushing them away. It just means you're you now. You're you. And you're going to do you. And I think that's pretty important. You have hard-earned wisdom now. You don't have this I don't know what I'm doing from your youth. You have the kind of wisdom that comes from feeling things, losing things, successes, times when you fell, times that you flew. You have all this earned wisdom. And I think that's important. You didn't have that when you were young. This isn't a shortcut. This is what you have established in midlife. You bring to midlife what you sure didn't bring to your 20s. And you know your strengths at this point. You know what you're genuinely good at, and you know what you're not good at. So you can just push that aside and go with your strengths. This is a serious competitive advantage. I mean, you stop wasting your time. You stop wasting other people's time. You stop trying to be the version of somebody else because you now have the strength to be yourself. I think that's pretty cool. At this point in the game, I have, and I'm sure you do too, a lot less fear about what other people think. I don't care anymore. I really don't. This is life changing. This is life changing, not worrying about what they're going to say about your clothing, your hair, or your house, your car, or anything else if you laugh too hard. I mean, I have a big laugh. And in fact, my grandson calls it Nana's big laugh. And I used to kind of try to stifle it. I don't care. If I'm going to laugh, I'm going to laugh. And you realize at this stage that people are managing their own insecurities. They don't have time for yours. And that's liberating too. They're not worried about yours at all. And those that are, fluff them off. They're not worth it. If they have the time to worry about what you're doing, you don't have the time for them, frankly, or at least don't make time for them. Clarity. You have clarity at this stage in the game. Midlife brings you that. I mean, think about it a moment. When you were young, what was on your mind? Who am I? Where am I going? What am I going to be? You may still have some of these questions, but your relationship with them has changed. You're no longer asking these things out of desperation to who you're going to be next. You know who you're going to be next. It's just fine tuning it. And that's pretty cool. My cat just walked in and is shaking the light. So if it suddenly goes dark, that's because Dave knocked the light over. You stop needing something. I lost my train of thought with Dave. You've learned to trust your own thoughts and feelings at this stage. You're not You're not looking for somebody else's thoughts. You know your own. It's called clarity. You're leaving Act One, but you're bringing a lot to Act Two. What are you bringing to Act Two? Let me hear it in the chat. What are you bringing to Act Two that you didn't have in Act One? Well, for one thing, your experience. Your experience is your currency. That's right. It's your currency. You have been in a culture that's obsessed with youth. It's easy to think time is working against you. It really is. I mean, it's splattered everywhere. Be young, be young, be young. You're not beautiful unless you're young. But they don't have experience. And think about it a minute. It's compounded interest, this experience. The relationships you've built, the industries you understand, that's not background noise. That's a portfolio. That's exactly what you need to be successful in midlife and to go on successful. You walk into Act Two with assets, your knowledge, your experience, your heart intact, or maybe not, but you know how to deal with it at this point. When you were younger, you had potential. That's all people talked about was all the potential. You have potential. She has such potential. But now you are the potential. You're your potential. You're not somebody else's. You're yours. And you can transition into anything you want without reinventing yourself. You're still you. You've been in training. The jobs, the failures, the successes. You've been in training for midlife without even realizing it. No job was wasted. You know those jobs you had, maybe one job that just wasn't a fit for you? What did you learn from that? You learned what was a fit for you. And you went on to get that kind of job. That failure you were a little embarrassed about. You remember that? What'd you learn from that? That's probably where you learned the most durable lesson. Failure kicks you forward. It really does. I think of some of the things I failed at. Radio sales. I went into radio sales for a while, and I later went into television sales, and I did pretty well. I was in it for 20 years, so I must have been doing okay. Radio sales, 7 months, I think I made it. It just wasn't for me. You're not just selling air, you're selling audio air. You're not even selling video air. So that was a difficult thing. For those of you who are in radio or radio sales, my husband was in radio for 37 years. God bless you. You're probably really good at what you do, and I'm impressed. We tend to count the wins, but the credentials really are our failures and our losses. That's what brought us to this day. Yes, the successes did too. But knowing what we did fail at and stand up again and keep going, that's what brought us to a strong, happy midlife. Marie Gibbs says, my failures were being a supervisor. That would probably be mine too. Oh, she learned that early in her career. I don't have the personality to be a supervisor. I would be like, you're not doing that right. I mean, I would not, I'm too high strung. I would not be the calming person in the room if something went wrong. I would be the, we got to get this fixed type of person. So I can relate to that one, Marie. I never even tried to be a supervisor because I knew what a mess that would be. So good for you for trying. But at this point, when you get through life, you've trained yourself. You've trained yourself to be successful through your failures. Let's talk about being a sales manager, being an executive, being a caregiver to aged parents, being a mother, being all these things, maybe all these things at once, maybe one or two of these things. I mean, think about what that requires. That requires organization, it requires planning, it requires so much that some company's webinar on how to stay organized and succeed can't compare to what all these jobs do for women. I mean, we already know how to lead. I do. I was a soccer coach. That, go back to my supervision. I was okay with 5-year-olds. 50-year-olds, I probably couldn't supervise. 5-year-olds, I was good. Because soccer is just like herding cats when you have 5-year-olds. It's just like, okay, that was a good goal, but let's try ours this time. But if you've done any of these things, you're operating on an extraordinary high level, and you should be proud of yourself. These young ones, they don't have that experience. And unfortunately, wouldn't it have been nice if we would have had this experience when we were in our 20s and 30s? Would have been great. It's great now, I think. Um, you don't start over at this point. Marie says she realizes now that what is the most important is being happy and enjoying life. I would totally agree with that. It's when you have all of these things, and you do, maybe you don't realize it, but you do, you're happy. And because you've been through all the mess, the messy parts of 20s and 30s, you can be happy. I need a Crystal Light drink here. Best diet drink in the world. I don't get paid to say that. I just love the stuff. In Act 2, which is what we're in right now, you're not back to zero. You're not. I mean, you may think a certain eye says young ones with a laugh emoji. Did I just say young ones? She's saying that because she has a channel, a certain eye, and it's a comedy channel, and some of her characters refer to young people as the young ones. So I think I've picked that up from her. You're not starting over. You're not back to zero. You're taking, yes, she says you did. You're taking everything you've built, the skills, the self-knowledge, everything, the hard-won perspective, and you're pointing it at somewhere new. You're not starting over. You're taking everything you have and diverting it to something that makes it even more wonderful. 22-year-olds starting out with potential but no proof. We've talked about that a little bit already. But, oh, hello, Anne. I'm sorry I'm late, from Mary Zubach, who happens to be my mother. So that's pretty bad when your own mom's late to your live stream. But that's okay. I'll forgive her. You have both potential and proof. And that's a powerful combination. That's starting with an unfair advantage, frankly, over the young ones. What's the one thing you're proud of from your Act One that you brought to your Act Two? Is there anything you're particularly proud of? Those of you in the chat? Is there something that you do now that you're like, I got that from Act One and I'm really glad I did? Because there are some things we learned from Act One that we carried on with. Some we threw away, some we went on with. But I can tell you one of mine, and that is letting go of what I can't control. And that was a big one. And let me tell you how I came to that. I was 32, maybe 33, and I had clients. I was in insurance and I had clients. And I had a client call me at 10 till 5 on a Friday with a problem, a major problem, a problem that I had caused, not completely, but I had contributed to the cause of it and it needed to be fixed. But I couldn't fix it till Monday. It was impossible. Everyone, it was 5 o'clock on a Friday. Everyone was gone. So I said, well, I'll fix it on Monday morning. All right. All weekend, I worried about this. I mean, to the point where I made myself sick. I was so worried. And I thought, I'm going to be fired. This client's going to leave. Every scenario in the book, I was thinking. And then Monday morning came. I got up really early, went into work, fixed the problem immediately. It took all of 2 minutes, called the client. He goes, okay. That was it. Okay. All that worrying and making myself sick for, okay, not thank you, just okay. That's done. Off my table, off my desk. So, and I told myself after that, I will never do that to myself again. If I can't control the situation, let it go. Just let it go. So, if you have that type, if you're that type of person, take a deep breath and let it go. Not easy to do, I might add, but it is doable. Um, Act Two is about expansion. We're taking it to the next level in Act Two. Yeah, you're right, Mom. It's not easy. Not easy to do that. But I had to learn to do it for my own sanity. And I do it pretty well, actually. I might get a little worried about it, but not making myself sick over it like I did that one weekend. Act Two is about expansion, deeper relationships. Think about that a moment. The relationships we've had with people all along change. For one thing, friends that we had through school, through work, a certain eye says, I've experienced that also, but like you, I've realized if you can't control the issue, I let it go mostly. It's the only thing you can do. Otherwise, you just go cuckoo. So, um, friends, we make them through different circumstances. In school, we're thrust in with people. When our kids go to school, we're thrust in with people. When we work, we're thrust in with people. And they become our friends, but they don't stay our friends. They're not deep friendships. As we get older, we want we want these deeper friendships. And just because somebody's been a friend for years, it might be just a friend out of habit. Are you really getting anything out of them? Be a friend to somebody. You're right. You do outgrow people, Mom. And that's a good point. Somebody who you had something in common with years ago, you may have nothing in common with now, and you're just it's a habit. You're being friends out of a habit. I have a video on that. I'll link it in the description below. about what happens in midlife with friendships. But it doesn't mean every friend disappears in midlife. It's just you become selective over the ones you want to spend time with. You're with friends who build you up, not with friends who drain you, because those aren't friends anymore. There's a purpose you want with your work. You notice that? You want a purpose. You don't just want a paycheck anymore. You want something that means something to you, to others. And I think that's a biggie. That was something for me. I wanted something that I could be proud of. And I wanted something I could be very proud of and not just collect my money every 2 weeks. Anyone else like that? Anyone else? You just with a job isn't a job to you anymore. It means something. Or maybe it does, it's just a job to you and you put your energies into things outside the job. That's okay too. Marie says, I love how I have reconnected with friends from my past and how close we all are again. Lucky to have friends that have been here for me to the highs and lows of life. Those are friends. Those are, I have a friend that's, I don't know if I can call her a friend. Our, my grandson and her son were really close for a while. And so we were thrust together and doing things together. Well, the boys drifted apart. I know I might call her every couple months to see how she's doing. She might call me. Are we friends? I like her. She likes me. But the circumstances that put us together just aren't there anymore. Well, I have friends that don't even live in the same city as I do, that I consider my dear friends. And I don't have to be in across the room from them. I can be across the ocean from them. And we get along well. We have something in common. And it's not a habit, it's a friendship. So I think that's very important as we get in midlife. Say yes to things that light you up. If it's even if it seems something odd, if it lights you up and makes you feel good, do it. Do it. Don't just turn your back on an opportunity because it might be a little weird. People might think you're odd. If it lights you up, do it. And at the same token, if something if something is not what you want, say no. My aunt says yes to everything. She'll give up golf to babysit because she can't say no. And I always say to her, no is a word too. That's an answer. No is an answer. Yes is an answer. No is an answer. Neither one are the wrong answer. N-O. No. Learn it. I say that to her all the time. Learn the word. Maybe is another word, but that's just another word for no. Remember that with the kids? Yeah, maybe. Maybe you can have a knife and play with it. A word for no. Learn the word. And you can say no without guilt. You don't have to feel guilty for saying it. It's part of the vocabulary. This is a time to go bigger, bigger in things that matter to you. Be it a hobby, be it an activity you like to do. What activities do you like to do that you didn't think you do 20 years ago? I know one, yoga. That's one for my mother. I'll just go ahead and call her out. I'm sure I'm sure she never thought she'd be doing yoga 20 years ago. That's what she's doing. What are all of you doing now that you didn't do 20 years ago? I think for me, it would be YouTube. I never thought 20 years ago. I didn't even think YouTube was around 20 years ago, was it? I think I'm dating myself. But yeah, I never thought I would do something like this. But here I am. good or bad. Think about this a minute. In Act 1, the script was written for you. Knitting. That's what I see from Mary Zubach, my mom. She says knitting, etc. Yeah, I can't picture you knitting back then either. A certain I, when I was a kid, maybe definitely mean yes. Oh, maybe definitely meant yes. I get it. Obviously, a lot of nagging was involved. Yeah, I guess that may change the maybe. I remember in sales, if you got a maybe I can do that, that was a definite no. You were not getting that by. Yeah, and no matter how much nagging you did a certain I, you were not getting that by when you got a maybe. But when you're in Act 2, the script was written for you, and it was written by your family, friends, um, society. All of these things wrote what you were supposed to do and what you were supposed to be. Am I right? You didn't write your own script. Now you don't only write it, you star in it, and you build the stage. That's pretty impressive. You get to do it all. And I'm not saying reinvent. I'm saying you're continuing your transition on your terms, no one else's. You write the script. I'm sorry. I just need another drink. And there's nothing in it. It's Crystal Light, if you're wondering. What did you do? What did you want to do most in life? Oh, a certain I says, I don't know. They haven't heard me nag. But my clients, they haven't heard you nag. They heard me beg. Does that count? uh, Mary Zubach says, yeah, right. Sure, says a certain I. What have you talked yourself out of that you've always wanted to do? What have you talked yourself out of? Because those dismissals of what you talked yourself out of are usually your deepest desires. They're usually something you wanted to do, but you didn't think you could do it. You talked yourself out with words like, my ship has sailed. I'm too old for this. It's too hard to do. This is what I want you to do. If you have things that you talked yourself out of, write them down. Write them down. Write everything you talked yourself out of and go back and revisit it. Marie says, I don't like to take chances. Need to get out of my comfort zone. Oh, that's a tough one. That falls into line with what do you talk yourself out of? Do you talk yourself out of doing things because you're nervous it will go wrong? You're nervous you might get hurt. You're nervous that people will think you're weird. Go back, revisit those things. Even if it's just one thing, pick it and do it because that's what you want to do, or you wouldn't have thought of it to begin with, right? What lights you up? Some of these things do light you up, but you're putting them last. There are a lot of things that I really enjoy doing that I find I don't have time to do. So I don't do them. So I'm putting last what makes me happy. Anyone else doing that? Anyone else putting last what makes them happy only because maybe you have things to do for other people? Maybe there are responsibilities that you need to take care of first. Well, you need to take care of yourself. And if something lights you up, make it a point. Take the time, set some time apart just to do that one thing. We treat joy like it's a reward. We treat joy like it's a reward, and it's not. It's joy is not optional. It should be what's in our heart and what we do. Joy. And when you put it off, you miss out on a lot of life. Who do you want to surround yourself with? I've already talked about friends, but I want to reiterate this. Don't surround yourself with people who bring you down. Don't do it. And that includes if you have a second cousin who always puts you down, don't spend time with them. You don't need that. If you have a friend that's always comparing you to them and putting you down, don't put up with it. Move on. Surround yourself with people like you who are happy, who don't drain you, who support you, who are your friend. And if they're not your friend, at least there's somebody that you recognize as that and you can move on. You're not starting over when you hit midlife. You're not starting over. You're starting from everything. You've got so much going on for you. You have a foundation that you built that took you 20, 30 years to build that now you can take and build your legacy. I have a video that comes out this Sunday at 6 o'clock. In fact, I publish every Wednesday at 6 and every Sunday at 6 p.m. So I hope you can catch one. I'll see you in the next one, and thanks for chatting. Bye-bye.